Good time of day, everyone. Welcome back to our great podcast, Life Hackers, in which we are going to share some practical experience of ours along different planes of life so that hopefully you'll be able to find something meaningful and actionable for yourself. This episode is sponsored by the gentle art of jiu-jitsu, which makes you mentally tough and physically more fit, amongst many other benefits of this excellent sport.
Flex.
All right, Wahab, how's it going?
Uh, just always remember what the wise man once said that it's just another day in paradise.
Nice. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's up to us to decide what's happening today. And looks like in the majority of the cases, we can take control of our decision making and either think positively or negatively about our life during a particular day. But what always could happen, and that's the a little bit more difficult part, is the optimization of that life. So, and then today we are kicking off our optimization string. I would say that will be strong amongst many episodes. So, what are we trying to optimize or share the tricks of optimization of today?
That is a great question. And today, what we're going to do is sort of divide a great topic, and that is becoming limitless,
Oh, yeah.
almost in par with the movie Limitless, starring Brad Pitt. And today, we're going to focus on workday optimization. And just as a quick
Indeed.
background, without going too in depth into the movie, is that the movie starts and you see Brad Pitt's character just depressed and completely unfocused. He is in
Yeah,
shambles.
common.
His apartment place is filthy. He is a failure of an author trying to publish a book, and he just can't bring himself to get to work. And
Yeah.
then the movie goes on, and he takes a pill that sort of activates 100% of his mind. And what I love
Mhm.
so much about the movie is that the first thing he does when he takes the pill, going from being a miserable mess
Yeah.
to a complete superstar stud, is that he cleans his apartment and he
Nice.
cleans his whole workspace.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a great starting point. Looks like it also finds reflection in the works of some famous modern philosophers, let's say, such as Jordan Peterson, right? So, yeah, that's a common theme. It sounds very mundane to a lot of us. For example, I would associate it with some sort of, let's say, the action of parents standing over me and saying, clean the apartment, right? So yeah, but as I started living on my own, eventually in my life, I realized how important that is. So just for example, from the hygiene standpoint, right? So it's not so bad, right? Actually, if you think about cleaning the apartment. So the hygiene of you and your apartment, your living space will be better. Also, it will be more presentable to the guests, for example. Let's say that's the second selling point. And the third selling point of this action will be just you will attain a small victory that will give you the momentum actually to complete more during the day. And the fourth selling point is that it doesn't take a lot of time. For example, I can clean my apartment if I do just the vacuum cleaning though. So that will take like about 15 minutes. So that's not so bad. And I'll need to spend another extra 15 minutes to do the wet cleaning of the apartment. So maybe overall it's going to be like about 45 minutes, but only once a week. So yeah, that's pretty nice. You can fritter away easily 45 minutes on Instagram. So, for example, or some other social media platform, right? And not necessarily that you are going to get some value during those 45 minutes, right? Not to say that Instagram is not educational, but yeah, still. So just think about this. In my experience, for example, which I would like to share, it's not overwhelming to clean your apartment.
Definitely. And you always keep the end goal in mind of a clean apartment, a clean
Yeah.
workspace. Like if we can visualize right now two different workspaces, let's say you have a desk and it's in your room. Now, the first scenario would be
Right.
back onto the movie Limitless,
Yeah.
just a filthy apartment, a desk with random papers scattered around everywhere. You have
Yeah.
takeout food and a filled trash can to the brim that, needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
You
Pretty grim
have,
picture.
yeah, I mean, if you would try to work or get something done in an environment like that is a huge mess, you couldn't even focus. You have a filthy trash can smell. You have sticky table surfaces.
Yeah.
You have just a huge unorganized mess that would take you forever to find a certain thing. Whereas
Very
if we look at a
distracting.
different scenario, exactly, it is so
Yeah.
distracting. But if we look at a
Nothing but
different
still.
scenario where you have a nice clean desk, you have papers organized, you have binders, or however you like to keep track of your items. Let's say if it's like a notebook, sticky notes, just having a level of organization and removing clutter, unnecessary items increases your ability to focus because now you only have, let's say,
Absolutely.
one thing in front of you, and that's your notebook, that's your computer screen. You
Yeah.
don't have all of these things in the background that has the ability to distract you from focusing on your work, your job, your side hobbies, your side hustles.
Yeah. That's very true. And then the focus element is very important, especially these days. I would say when we are, let's use this cliche word, bombarded by so much information from around the place. And then that's where I find sometimes myself in if I consume too much of those information pieces, right, from various sources, I feel distracted, right? So my focus is all over the place, and it's invested into too many information streams that I cannot like focus, let's say, on the most important task which I need to do today. So, but yeah, if let's say I can remove the information stream generated by the smell from the trash can or the like food items scattered around, then I will kind of consolidate, or I will spend less of my focus on those things, and I'll be able to spend more focus on what like matters. For example, the accomplishment of the homework, right? Or I don't know, dealing with some sort of paperwork that had to be dealt with, a tax return, you name it. So there are many present items in our lives at basically any point. So yeah, focus is a huge thing. And again, it's free, right? You don't have to like pay money to be focused, right? So you can generate it from within yourself.
Yeah, your environment is a huge detrimental factor of your ability to focus or not focus. Like, if you have a nice clean room and you have very few items scattered around, your focus will be on what's your priority, let's say your work, your job.
Yeah,
And you will have the ability to perform much better than just have a huge, gigantic stack of papers.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
you just have like a mountain right next to your desk. So that might be harder to focus. Whereas, let's say you just have a notebook, and then from there, you have work prioritized, or maybe even like using a shelf, buying a bookshelf to organize books, any papers you need to be moved.
indeed. Yeah, so that's a big thing, and like once we clean up, another important point I would like to point out is to maintain that clean state, so to speak. That's sort of important because sometimes where I found myself at is that I could clean up maybe during some sort of, let's say, spring break or mid semester or break between the semesters, right? So and then I kind of like fall behind. So it's important to maintain, just kind of like make it a habit, and eventually after maybe like several weeks, it will become easier to allocate 45 minutes once a week to clean up your room, house, apartment, whatever this might be. So, and then also decluttering. So the removing of clutter, I think that's the important point, Wahab, that you mentioned. So that to me boils down into not acquiring too much stuff basically now about like each item. That's a little bit of the advanced step after the cleanup. If I think about something, okay, for example, this microphone, is it going to be used, let's say, weekly, for example, right? Then I'm going to buy it, right? So that's an important thing. If it costs maybe like $100, right? So I can like save up and then buy it. So, or if, for example, I have something like, I don't know, something that I'm not going to use often, and it just stands there. For instance, maybe some people buy things in pairs, right? And then they could buy maybe like several, like 3 pairs of scissors, like this one, right? The same item, but tripled. So why would I do that, right? So it just eats up the space quite literally. So, and then I'm not going to use like 3 of them every week. So I use that, yeah, pretty regularly, like to cut up some stuff on a weekly basis. Then yeah, it's good. But why would I buy extra items, right? Or maybe there's going to be something that doesn't serve a particular purpose, right? Maybe some extra cord, right, from Ethernet cable, and you don't need it anymore. So why would you do that? So think about like before acquiring the item, and then it will save you some trouble of kind of getting rid of that. So later on, maybe you need to sell it. Oh, now you lose the money. You got it for $100. Now you need to sell it for like, I don't know, 40 or something. So not so good. So think twice, be kind of calculating, if we paraphrase this famous phrase above the doors of the URI Student Senate. Think twice, be nice, they say.
Something I like to do every week would be a sort of re-cleanup check. So if I sometimes slip up and just start using my desk as a pile of just throwing cluttered items, I like to
Exactly.
take at least one day of the week and not even spend an hour just to move, reorganize, place items back into bookshelves,
Yeah.
see what I'm using, what I'm not using, and then reorganize from there. And while I do that, something I found really good is I try every single week to make, my desk and computer station more efficient. So I try to find one thing that I can make
Okay.
better
Makes sense.
and
Makes
then
sense.
see whether it means, replacing a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Like over a few months, I started transitioning to wireless items just to remove the amount of wires
Oh yeah.
in my site. I know that
That's a good
bugs a lot
step.
of
Yeah.
people. It started to bug me too. So I transitioned from my old wired keyboard to a wireless keyboard to a wireless mouse. That way, I just have that little bit of extra space. And it doesn't have to be a huge, complete remodeling. Just find one thing
Yeah.
and see if it's in your power to make it better. Like, I'm not saying, go buy the most expensive keyboard out there if it's wireless. Like, find something
Indeed.
within reason
Yeah.
and within your ability to change.
As I
Like, for
say,
example,
the
oh, yeah.
cheapest best. So that's what I try to go for. Yeah. What
Yeah.
was the example? Excuse me.
Oh, yeah. Like, an example I had was I wanted to find an ability to improve my planning, but I didn't have a
Yeah.
daily planner. I only had the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went ahead and bought one of those like tiny books that I
Yeah.
can keep on my desk that doesn't really take too much space. And then from there, I can write a daily to do list. And that
Mm.
will focus on only things I have to get done within today. But it wouldn't
Indeed.
be,
Okay.
daily tasks like getting an exercise done or brushing my teeth. I'd sort of find 3 things that I can do today, whether it's trying to work on a side business idea, trying to, let's say, record a podcast episode,
Yeah.
or even place a planned meeting for, trying to go out with friends or trying to get a piece of digital creation or get research done. That would be in like my daily planner. Whereas then a calendar would be great for long-term planning. Like for
Yeah.
example, you know, if you have a book that you'd like to start finishing, moving back into the movie Limitless, when his apartment was a mess, he couldn't even focus on writing a book. He just had writer's block. He just stare at a blank screen and then stare at his complete mess
Gotcha.
of an apartment and then
Yeah.
just not know what to do. But then after he gets his house in order, as Jordan Peterson says, he is able to put all of his attention on what matters, and that was just writing his book. But in the movie, he takes a fictional super pill that makes him able to write it down in a few hours. We
Yeah,
know
that's right.
that,
So
yeah,
that will be quite an again advanced step. So yeah, but we can rather concentrate on some sort of like immediate items, immediate action steps that we can take. They literally don't take a lot of time, right? Maybe like several seconds. So and then, for example, in my experience, I also always thinking about. I was on the same page with you, Ahab, about this planning of the day, right? Scheduling and planning what I'm gonna do. And I normally use this paper-based notebook, right? So that one is, it contains everything actually, both the science items and some sort of additional items, such as kind of the entrepreneurial stuff, right? So that's pretty good. So it's a large piece of paper. You can fit a lot in there, and you can kind of like organize it. Okay, science versus, I don't know, investment, for example, or whatever additional thing that you are doing, right? Maybe some sort of like a landscaping business, right? At your free time and stuff like that. And also the to-do list for, let's say, long-term memory. So I can just use it on my uh, iPhone and on my MacBook, right? So there is a to-do list that contains what I need to do maybe sometime later in the week, later in the month, right? Or maybe something I need to buy from the grocery store. That's not a to-do list. So that's very good to have those. And then, yeah, speaking of scheduling the time, right? The calendars help a lot, right? So I, for example, don't have a paper-based planner. I have just a calendar, the basic one that comes with the MacBook uh, operational system. And then this calendar allows me to consolidate events along, let's say, my personal calendar and my work calendar. And then I can see everything in front of me on the screen of the laptop, for example, and I know what I'm going to do right at a particular time point. And another trick, which I started using recently, I have never heard of it, but it's very efficient and very simple, is just to put into the calendar not only, let's say, events, right, and meetings that you are going to like take part in, but also, for example, some sort of like focused work periods. For instance, if I want to work on my, let's say, tax return, then I would schedule this, for example, let's say Sunday, I don't know, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. I'll be doing the tax return, right? I'll just put it in my calendar. Or if I want to have some sort of brunch plans, right, with somebody, and then I'll just put it in the calendar as well. Gym sessions. The list goes on and on.
a calendar, especially when you start crossing things off because you completed them,
Yeah.
reinforces the idea that makes you feel like you're actually getting things done. Whereas if you don't have it, let's say, right in front of you or in your hand,
Yeah.
and you complete tasks, then we tend to forget about them. We tend to look past our accomplishments. Whereas actually, let's say, writing down, okay, today I'd like to get my tax returns done
Yeah.
from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now you've done it, and then that satisfying feeling of crossing it off.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel satisfied with the work you've done.
That's a good approach. Yeah. So that's like a very nice mental trick. I heard about that somewhere. So yeah, that is definitely efficient. I can do it in my paper-based to-do lists all day long as well. So yeah, that does give you the sense of progress, I guess. And then gives you the momentum, so you achieve more and more, accomplish, let's say, more and more of those things which you don't necessarily like as well, but overall you have the sense of progression, and you are either satisfied with just getting things done, or you're satisfied with some sort of pleasant achievement, whatever it might be, but overall it's a positive action to accomplish. Yeah, so and what else? So yeah, I would like to
Oh,
also maybe show my workspace.
mhm.
Shall we move to
Before
this part?
that,
Okay.
we can like quickly touch up on
Yeah.
the use of calendar, because that itself is a great positive reinforcement.
Okay.
And then what happens is, if let's say you do it time over time again, you just become a really efficient, focused machine. Like in a way, you sort of
Yeah.
become like Brad Pitt in the movie Limitless,
You build a
where
habit,
you
actually.
build successful, efficient habits. You start focusing on improvements rather than, wasting time. Because if you, let's say, do what I like to focus on is the trick of three, whereas every day find three efficient things that you can do or get done,
Yeah.
and you start to see the effect of that. You just keep focusing on more and more, such as if you use a calendar to, let's say, begin your passion as an author. Today in my daily list, I have write 5 pages, but then I have that every single day, just 5 pages. By the end of a 30-day month, I'm going to have what, like 60 pages?
Yeah.
And then that can be my monthly milestone. Like at the end of the month, make sure I have 60 pages written. Or, you know, in a daily list, just look for a good company to invest in, find and read more about the market, try to understand more about stocks, and then have a monthly end goal of try to invest, half of your paycheck.
Exactly. Yeah, you just kind of split some sort of goal into small pieces, and then yeah, they accumulate and give you a bigger result, right? So rather than just kind of like something like very, very small. So yeah, but you need to start and then kind of like manage those bigger tasks, right? Split them into smaller ones, and yeah, you'll be able to accomplish them quite easily. So the only thing is that it needs to become disciplined, right? So yeah, 3 pages, let's say, every day, 5 days a week or something like that. So that will yield a lot of pages after, let's say, a month or even a week, right? If you think about that, that's also kind of quite a nice result, but you need to do this regularly. So that will involve some discipline. So that's pretty much the mental payment that you kind of accomplish, or you need to kind of like give here. But the good news is that eventually this action will become a habit, and then it will be easier and easier with time. So yeah, and speaking of small things, here's a small thing that will kind of like showcase or will be the example of the hopefully what we can call a nicely organized space on a budget. So yeah, that's the workspace which I have right now. I have desks, but I don't have a lot of shelves, right? So which I would like to have to organize the items. So here I'll do a little bit of the walkthrough of what it looks like. Rule of thirds, 35 millimeters. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to point to the camera in a more or less chronological order. So here we have the desk, which contains the planner, right, or the kind of like folio with the notebook, the pencil or a pen rather, some hydration station here, coffee and water. Then that's the famous laptop that broke down like halfway, 50%. Then this is our actually screen, which lets the laptop work. Under the screen, we have a little bit of small items. A souvenir from Puerto Rico. Stay cool under pressure, it says. Okay, inspirational coin from the attendance of the movie with Keanu Reeves, whatever it's called. It's an action movie. John Wick.
Is that a John Wick coin?
John Wick
You have
coin.
that?
Yeah, here it is. It says something inspirational, like and Skausa Sui. Everything is in within, by the way. Within yourself, you will find your power to organize your room, clean your room and organize your schedule. Anyway, calculator, laptop mouse, or not the laptop mouse, just an external mouse, keyboard, phone, telephone, pencil holder is here. Then next we have some organization of the folders, organization of the small documents, iPad. Next we have boxes. So that's what I use instead of the shelves. It was not possible to install the shelves yet. Hopefully it will be done at some point. But I have boxes for various items, such as keys, clothing, masks, and gear of sorts. Then we have more folders, more boxes. There is an even exercise box. You can see the handle of the barbell or of the Russian weight, whatever it's called, kettlebell. Jesus, it's over there in HB1 box. So that's what it looks like. So it's, I would say, nicely organized on a budget, more or less.
That
Black.
workspace is great to show that even with, a budget.
And we are back.
And
that's me.
Holding just bare essentials is that you can remake it and organize it. Because two ways I could see that workstation is the way you have it now. Yeah. That is organized in individual boxes, just keep everything neat and tidy, versus imagine if the boxes weren't there and everything is just piled up in a big, clutter corner.
Yeah, that's right. You need to have some containers
sometimes
to contain the chaos. Yeah, exactly.
Contain the chaos.
Okay, and that's what the containers are for in particular. Okay, well, that's great. So yeah, we have some sort of small infusion of what we can use. Couple tools, basically. It's clean up your space, right? Whatever it might be, especially for work, right? That's one of the important parts of life. And this will help you be more focused and efficient as a result in your work or just whatever operations that you perform, and schedule things, right? Using the planner, using the calendar and to-do list to track your progress in accomplishing of those scheduled things. So those are items which, in our experiences, do they help us? What do you think? Did it help you?
Oh, for me, the difference is night and day.
Nice.
It's a huge help. And what you just said, like I couldn't have said it any better. Having just the whole idea of a nice and organized station can make a huge difference in your work setup and especially your work mood, because now you sit in a place where it's easier to focus rather than you just have scattered items everywhere and now you don't know where to look at.
Exactly. Yeah, I found myself in the same situation. When everything is organized on the work desk, it's much easier to operate, especially in this very busy world. Of course, I cannot, let's say, complete everything that I need to complete. So, but I think it's better than with the chaotic desk. So yeah, I have definitely ways, or not the ways, but long way to improve. So yeah, and it is fine. That's part of the journey. And then, yeah, the calendar usage helps a lot. So to schedule activities, block off the time, and then just try to get them done finally. So yeah, these are like very actionable items in our experimental experience. They work very nicely. So we would recommend them.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Awesome.
And especially looking back into the movie Limitless, we see from the way Brad Pitt gets his house together, he gets his house in order. From there, that becomes a segue to being able to accomplish everything that's been holding him back in the movie. Because in a sense, your workspace determines your workday. And how well you optimize that, especially areas surrounding it, determines how you feel throughout the day. And the most thing I hate so much in the world is coming back and just seeing like everything around me is a mess. I can't stand it. Like
Yeah,
I need to keep it clean and organized.
very true. Yeah,
And especially if, oh, sorry.
at some point, yeah, your habit will drive you to do that actually, and then you'll not be able to postpone it, and you'll just get it done, get it over with this cleaning process, and then yeah, you'll feel better.
Yeah, like I'd say for me now, it's definitely become a habit, but I wasn't always like that. Like before, I just have like, the chair that I just use to pile up all of my laundry in, and
Right.
then a desk that would just have, notebooks from last semester that shouldn't even be here, but are just there for pure laziness.
Indeed.
And in a way, you don't have to start cleaning up by just doing a purge and burn everything down and then just like start
Yeah.
fresh. A great way is reorganize, get rid of the clutter, unnecessary items, and then in a sense, just try to see where you focus best. Try to find that nice optimum setting where if you sit down, you can focus, you can pay attention to what you need to get done rather than just sit down and feel distracted and, annoyed by your mess.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So we have a couple actionable tools. So just clean up your space of work and life, schedule, use the planner, calendar, to-do list, and this will help you to propel yourself to greater success in your life in general. Awesome. All right. So, yeah, at this point, I think we're going to close down and wrap up this yet another episode. Well, thank you for being with us. Thank you for tuning in and carry on to more optimization and success.
Hack the Life, brought to you by Life Hackers.
Amazing. Bye, everyone.
See ya.